I guess we'll go straight to the match first. This match against Hellas Verona. Obviously, everybody's eyes was towards Vlahovic. We saw the last days of the Mercato. Vlahovic comes in, Zakaria comes in. Two big purchases for Juve. I think two important ones. Again, as a Milan fan, I'm going to poke fun to you Juve fans. With what money, I don't know, but listen, they got the job done, right? In the Mercato, they had a good one. And just quickly, before we get into other nitty-gritty things about Juve this season, what were your expectations before the match? And obviously, with the result going in your favor, how did you view the match afterwards?
Going into the match, I was really curious to see how Allegri would line up. Like, that was probably the biggest question mark for me, because adding these two new players onto the squad, was he going to start the two new players? Allegri's a little bit notorious for having to give players time to become accustomed to the team and the plan and everything. But he proved me wrong, and he started both of them. So I thought that was a huge point right there, just to see that he put his trust into those players. Clearly, he wanted those players and was happy with them. And I think in terms of expectations too, I did expect Vlahovic to score. I predicted on our All Juve Cast a hat trick, but I mean, he was close. He was close. Wasn't quite a hat trick, but he almost there. And I'm glad he did score. I think that it just shows his mentality, especially just coming into a high pressure game. I think everyone was expecting him to score. And so I'm happy that he did. And to answer the second part of your question there, like, how do I feel about the situation after the match, especially taking into account those new players? I think that this next part of the season, I find it really promising. I think that we were really missing that main central striker, and I pointed to it before as kind of, that was what was bailing Allegri out for me a lot, was the fact that we didn't have a true 9. And so now we've gotten him arguably the best 9 in the league. So that's one piece of the puzzle that's been completed now. And in terms of Zakaria, I think that he just brings options to our midfield, which is so refreshing, because as Juve fans know, we've really struggled with our midfield since the Pogba days. We truly hadn't found adequate replacements for that midfield from those years. And so I think that Zakaria coming in allows us to play different combinations, whereas we were pretty much handcuffed before to the same types of players. So I really like, I think that those two things were really promising about the match.
And so we got a question on Instagram from Julian Faustini. He asked, who had the better debut, Zakaria or Vlahovic? I mean, they each score. It's ideal debut. But even just watching them play, I mean, Vlahovic had a couple of chances too. Looking at Zakaria, he did look nervous, right? He looked nervous at the beginning. My first thought, a couple of misplayed passes. My first thought was like, oh no, not another one of these midfielders, right? We just replaced Bentancur with Zakaria, but it wasn't the case. He looks better, and he's going to grow. But what did you think about their debuts as a whole, and who do you think had the better debut?
I think both of them, like you said, in terms of scoring on their debut, like, you can't get better than that. Like, both had excellent debuts, and I would say that I would go with Vlahovic still, just because I feel like the spotlight was really on him. And I think the fact that he had an excellent game, his movement up front just opened so many gaps in behind that allowed Dybala and Morata to thrive on the wings. Like, I just think that the way he's able to handle that pressure, especially at a young age, and score on his debut was excellent. But however, Zakaria's goal did surprise me. I was not expecting him to score at all. And he had a great finish too off of that play. So both had excellent debuts, but yeah, I think I'd have to go with Vlahovic.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there, Lex. I mean, listen, any more wide open that Zakaria could have gotten, you almost couldn't find, right? The defense there was, by Verona there, was really let him go. But I think, and I'm going to bounce off the point that you mentioned, Lex, I think a lot of the pressure obviously was on Vlahovic. I think, obviously making the big money move from Fiorentina to Juve was always going to get its criticisms if things weren't going to go right, if things weren't going to pan out. I mean, listen, so far so good. It's only one match, so it's a small sample size. But listen, guys, it's 13 minutes in, and he made an impact. on the big stage, right, in his opening match. I think, obviously, last season, going into this season with Fiorentina, Vlahovic was one of the better strikers. He's still top of the couple kind of near the race with Ciro Immobile, and I think he'll probably score a lot more goals in the future. But I think just him being the more focal point and him having more of the eyes, he takes the number 7 after Cristiano Ronaldo. Again, I don't want to say Ronaldo's all forgotten, even though he did a lot of great things with Juve, but Vlahovic, I think personally had the better game. Zakaria, I don't know how bad or if that injury was anything. At the end, I didn't catch, but again, it's good to see them both again going on the score sheet. What do you, I don't know where you want to go next, Alex, but in terms of, I guess, the Mercato now finished. You had the Mercato that you had. Obviously, I would assume that your expectations of this Juve team probably changed in a more positive way. If you want to just let us know, what was your expectations before the season kicked off? Where are you at now? Again, I don't want to say give predictions for top 4 if they're going to win the Scudetto. Wherever your mind takes you, you can go. But where are you standing right now, and where were you, a couple months ago before the season kicked off?
So I would say okay, I'll give my predictions from the winter break. I had the team as finishing in 3rd place, and I was still pretty confident that we would get that Champions League spot. However, I think I still had some reservations, but I think that now, after our Mercato and after we got Vlahovic and Zakaria, I think that my expectations probably I would say a confident 3rd and possibly 2nd place. And, people have been talking possible Scudetto push. I don't know. I mean,
easy guys, easy. Easy.
I mean, I think it gives me more confidence in Champions League, especially. I feel better going into Villarreal, and I think that Champions League is that type of tournament where anything can happen, right? There's a lot of luck involved in a knockout tournament. I think there's still teams in the tournament that are a lot more complete than we are right now and a lot more mature, but I think that we can definitely make a push for quarters for sure, even semis possibly, but I definitely think that there's a lot of excitement wrapped up in those transfers. That's definitely raised my expectations for the season, and my expectations of Allegri especially, I would say. I think now that a lot of it looks to him, and it's kind of pressure's on for him, it's time for him to cook,
There you
go. Yeah, speaking about the expectations, Scudetto, I feel like this weekend is make it or break it. If things go their way this weekend, they beat Atalanta, maybe Inter Napoli tie, maybe we could start talking about it again. I think it's a long shot. I think they would need to win. There's 14 games left. They'd probably have to win 10 to 12 at least, especially the direct games against
expect other teams to drop and stuff. It's a lot to ask for, guys.
It is a lot. It is a lot. But Champions League, that is one thing. We've been saying it for so many years now. I don't know. I don't think they're going to win it all, but I at least want to see them at least get to the quarterfinals, because that's been since 2019. Maybe make a push for the semis. Hey, maybe play in another final. Maybe don't lose this time. We'll see. But I think one of the things we have to look at a Champions League, and I'm going to bring it back to Vlahovic, is he's not a player that's going to crumble under pressure, right? But he's never played in the Champions League. He's never played in Europa League. He's never played. He didn't play in the Euros with Serbia. So do you think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him to play in the Champions League, especially with the amount of pressure? It's only 2 games against Villarreal. Or do you think it's just this guy's full of confidence right now? He's just going to come in and pot 2 or 3 goals in the round of 16?
I think his confidence is there for sure. I think his mentality's there. It's really interesting that you point that out, because I honestly hadn't really thought of that before, even though you're absolutely right. He has 0 experience playing in Europe and Europa League or in the Champions League. And so I think, it would be an adjustment for him. I would probably go as far as to say that a lot of our success and our hopes about making it further probably wage on how well he's able to make the adjustment. And if he's able to use the opportunity and thrive in it, then I think that we can be really successful. But yeah, I'm confident that he'll do well. He'll put some goals in.
Yeah, I think even just to bounce off of that, I think it's on the mentality of Vlahovic. I think we've seen it, as avid SerieA, watchers, viewers, whatever you want to call it, and watching, I'm not gonna say, we're watching Fiorentina week in, week out with a magnifying glass on them, but just as avid lovers of the game and of the SerieA, just seeing Vlahovic under pressure against bigger teams, scoring, top of the list in the scoring charts, in high pressure moments he's there. I think I don't think he really, okay, obviously they can, I don't want to say they don't have nothing to lose, because obviously they have something to lose, but Vlahovic as a player on his own, I don't think he has much to really lose in terms of that. For me, he's gaining experience. He's still a young player. If Juve continue on a path that they can continuously make top four and get into the top four in Champions Leagues in years to come, these are more and more experiences that a guy like Vlahovic can get, and he's still a young player, like I said. So I think his mentality will definitely be there. But Lex, I'm gonna shift just quickly to another striker that you guys have had, and obviously the big talk was Vlahovic when he came in, but what's now with Morata? What are fans thinking about Morata? I think this question came from one of your followers on your page, so thank you to your followers there. But they asked, do you think Morata will be like he was when he played with Tevez, now with Vlahovic? I think it's an interesting question, and I think it's an interesting dynamic that they can have. Again, I didn't watch the whole match. I saw most of it, but Morata looked good. I think he was better than probably fans would have expected. Again, you guys are the experts, so you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, Lex. But what do you make of that question?
No, you're absolutely right. I think especially in the second half, he essentially created Zakaria's goal, and I think Morata was great all game. His hold-up play was much better. I think Al pointed it out when we had our podcast post-game that he's holding up against fullbacks now versus center backs. It's better. It's just he has more space on the wing. He doesn't have to be the center of attention, the central player, because I think that seeing him in that winger role, I think that he can really thrive there this next part of the season. And I think that the whole talk about the Morata, Dybala, and Vlahovic trident there that Allegri actually did try out in the game, I think that can be really crucial going forward. And I honestly think that if Morata can make himself valuable enough and an important piece of that trident, especially with Chiesa out now for the foreseeable future, I think that Morata, if Atletico lower their asking price and negotiate, I think he can save his spot. I think, in my opinion, I've always been a Morata fan. Maybe I have a soft spot for him. I think a lot of fans were getting really frustrated with him, and it's understandable because he was our main striker for a while there before Vlahovic and wasn't really putting up the numbers that we needed. But I think he thrives in kind of a secondary striker role or winger role, or even as a super sub coming off the bench. And so I think now that the attention is more on Vlahovic as our main striker, I think Morata can do really well in that supporting role. And so I would say, yeah, if Atletico lower their price, I would keep him in the summer. But I think it still wages a lot on how he does in this next part of the season and then how well he can work with Vlahovic. I honestly think same goes for Dybala's contract extension talks too. I think a lot of it revolves around now how these players work with Vlahovic.